The boxing world is on the edge of its seat, holding its breath for a battle that could redefine the sport's history. Imagine a fight so colossal, so unpredictable, that even the greatest minds in boxing hesitate to make a call. A showdown where one of the most dominant forces in the sport, Saul Canelo Alvarez, meets a man who has made a career out of defying expectations, Terence Bud Crawford. But here's the real question. Can Crawford, a man who has conquered division after division, really step up to super middleweight and dismantle a legend? One man who knows the answer better than most is Shawn Porter. And when he was asked to sum up Crawford's chances of victory, he only needed 4 words. He can beat Canelo. Now, let that sink in. Those words didn't come from a casual observer. They came from a warrior who stood toe-to-toe with Crawford, felt his power, endured his relentless pace, and ultimately succumbed to his skill in the 10th round. Porter isn't just giving an opinion, he's revealing a truth he learned the hard way. And if you think that's just an overstatement, consider this. Terence Crawford isn't just any fighter. He's a once-in-a-generation talent, a man who has torn through weight classes with an almost surgical precision, carving his name into boxing history. From his days as an undisputed super lightweight champion to his recent reign as the undisputed welterweight king, Crawford has silenced every doubter, walked through every challenge, and emerged as an undeniable force. When he moved up to 154 pounds, many thought he'd finally meet his match. Instead, he claimed a world title at the very first attempt. Now, with his sights set on super middleweight and the ultimate test in Canelo Alvarez, one thing is certain: Crawford doesn't believe in limits. But this isn't just another step up in weight. This is Canelo Alvarez, a man who has seen it all. A fighter whose only defeats came against the defensive genius of Floyd Mayweather and the sheer size and skill of Dimitri Bivol. A warrior who has never been knocked down, never been stopped, and who has dismantled some of the best names in boxing with a ruthless efficiency that leaves no room for doubt. He is the undisputed king of the super middleweight division, a fighter who has built his legacy on sheer dominance. So, what happens when an unstoppable force like Crawford collides with the immovable object that is Canelo? That's the million-dollar question. But according to Shawn Porter, the answer lies in Crawford's mindset. Crawford is as good as you think he is, Porter said. He has it physically. He puts in the work. He has all that. But what separates him from everybody is something more. He's the strongest and most courageous man I've ever been in the ring with. He's the most competitive man I know. Those words carry weight. They aren't just praise, they are a warning. A warning that Canelo might be facing a challenge unlike anything he has encountered before. Porter believes that the timing of this fight is crucial. He sees Canelo as a fighter with miles on the clock, a champion who has been through grueling wars and could begin to break down over 8 to 10 rounds. And if that happens, Porter says, it could become Crawford's fight. But let's not get ahead of ourselves before this super fight can become a reality. Canelo has a battle of his own. In May, he faces William Skull in his quest to become a 2-time undisputed champion in the division. Only after that, if all goes according to plan, will the stage be set for the mega clash in Las Vegas this September. Now, let me ask, can you picture it? The lights of Vegas shining down on 2 of the best fighters of this generation. The air electric with anticipation. The world watching, waiting to see if Crawford's ambition or Canelo's legacy will reign supreme. Because make no mistake, this isn't just a fight. This is a moment that could shift the entire boxing landscape. But before we talk about what could happen when the bell rings, let's dive deeper. What makes Crawford so special? Why do fighters who have faced him speak of him with such reverence? And most importantly, how exactly can he break down a man like Canelo? Let me take you inside the mind of a fighter, where strategy, skill, and an unbreakable will collide. You're about to see why this fight could be unlike anything we've seen before. But for that, you'll have to stick around for the next part. Are you ready? Good? Because what we're about to get into is something that most people don't fully understand. You see, when a fight like this gets announced, the casual fan sees just two names, two warriors stepping into the ring. But the real story, the one that decides who walks away victorious, is buried beneath the surface in the details, the strategy, the mind games, the years of experience that will all come crashing together in one defining moment. So let's talk about why Terence Crawford is different. What makes him the man that even former opponents like Shawn Porter, who have felt his power firsthand, believe can do the unthinkable and defeat Canelo Alvarez? It starts with one word: adaptability. Crawford isn't just a fighter. He's a chess master in the ring. He doesn't come in with a single game plan. He comes in with a blueprint that shifts and evolves with every passing second. This is a man who can fight orthodox or southpaw, who can trade in the pocket or dance on the outside, who can be the hunter or the hunted and still dictate the pace of a fight. When you watch him, you're not just seeing power or speed, you're witnessing a fighter who downloads his opponent's every move, analyzes their tendencies, and adjusts on the fly in a way that most fighters simply can't. That's exactly why Porter said Crawford was the most competitive man he's ever known. Because Crawford doesn't just fight to win, he fights to dominate, to break his opponent down mentally, before he even does it physically. And that's what makes this upcoming showdown with Canelo so fascinating. Because if there's one thing that has made Canelo great, it's his ability to impose his will. Canelo is a master at cutting off the ring, at forcing his opponents into uncomfortable positions where their weapons are neutralized, and his power becomes the only factor that matters. He doesn't rush. He doesn't waste punches. He breaks fighters down piece by piece, like a sculptor chiseling away until there's nothing left but his masterpiece. And for years, it has worked. Fighters have stepped into the ring with big plans, fast hands, and impressive records, only to leave battered, broken, and defeated. But here's the thing, Canelo has never fought anyone quite like Crawford. Crawford isn't the kind of opponent who lets you dictate the pace. He doesn't stand there and admire your power. He forces you to react to him. He takes control of the rhythm of a fight and bends it to his will. And that is the key to this fight, the battle for control. Because if Crawford can control the pace, if he can keep Canelo from settling into his usual groove, then we could see something truly shocking. We could see the great Canelo Alvarez, one of the most dominant champions of our era, struggling to find answers. And this is where Shawn Porter's words become even more powerful. He said he believes the timing of this fight is perfect. That Canelo has enough wear and tear on his body that, if pushed into deep waters, he could begin to break down after 8 to 10 rounds. Now, that doesn't mean Canelo is past his prime, far from it. But even the greatest fighters are human. And when you've been in as many grueling wars as Canelo has, when you've gone through the kind of battles that leave scars both physically and mentally, it starts to add up. Crawford knows this. And if you think for a second that he's going into this fight without a plan to expose it, you don't know Terence Crawford. So how does he do it? How does he take down a man who has never been stopped? It starts with movement. Canelo's biggest struggles in the past have come against fighters who didn't stand still for him. Floyd Mayweather, Dimitri Bivol, they didn't allow Canelo to set his feet and throw those devastating combinations. They made him chase, made him react, made him think more than he wanted to. Crawford will do the same. He won't stand there and let Canelo impose his will. He'll use feints, sharp angles, and quick pivots to keep Canelo off balance. He'll frustrate him, make him miss, and force him to exert more energy than he's comfortable with. Then comes the body attack. Most people assume that when a smaller fighter moves up in weight, they'll be at a power disadvantage. And while that's true, Crawford doesn't need one-punch knockout power to hurt Canelo. He just needs to chip away at him round by round. He'll go to the body early, force Canelo to feel the wear and tear, and set the stage for a late fight takeover. And that brings us to the most important factor of all, Crawford's mental toughness. Because if there's one thing we know about Canelo, it's that he thrives on breaking his opponents mentally before he breaks them physically. He feeds off of their doubt, off of that moment when they realize they can't hurt him, when they start second-guessing themselves. But with Crawford, that moment will never come. Because Crawford doesn't doubt himself. He doesn't break. He doesn't fold. He is as relentless mentally as he is physically, and that could be the single greatest weapon he brings into this fight. So here's the reality. This fight won't just be about skill. It won't just be about power or experience. It will be a battle of wills. Will Canelo impose his usual dominance and prove that size and experience are too much for Crawford to overcome? Or will Crawford, the man who has defied expectations at every turn, once again prove that he is a different breed of fighter, one who refuses to acknowledge limits? And that, my friends, is why this fight isn't just a boxing match. It's a moment in history waiting to unfold. So now, I ask you, who do you believe? The legacy of Canelo? Or the unstoppable ambition of Terence Crawford? Because soon, we're going to get our answer. And when that bell rings, when these two titans stand across from each other in the ring, under the bright lights of Las Vegas, one thing is certain: someone's story will change forever.